Hi, my name is Madeline, and welcome to my easy 4-step watercolor raindrop tutorial. We are going to start off with 100% cotton paper. I have it taped down to my plastic board, and I'm just going to get some soap because we're going to start off with masking fluid, and I'm going to get my cheap old brush that I use for masking fluid all nice and soapy. And we're going to start off by using masking fluid and creating some raindrops. I am going to start off by getting pretty random paint splatters. I want some little splatters and some big splatters. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just paint some larger raindrops. And so you kind of want to just space them out a little bit randomly. I'm going to do a drip of water coming from the top right here. And now that I'm done, I'm going to take my hot air tool and I'm just going to dry this layer of masking fluid. Now I am just going to grab a large flat brush and I'm going to grab some clean water and I'm going to wet our paper because we're going to do just a really quick background wash. And so we're going to just be using Paynes gray today, just one color. And so I'm just going to grab some and I'm just going to wet our background. And it doesn't have to be all even because I want it to sort of look like we are looking out a rainy day window. So it's okay if it's darker in some places and lighter in others. And now I'm going to dry this layer. Now that this layer is dry, I'm going to use a glue eraser, and I really swear by these, especially if you use a hot air tool on your masking fluid. Sometimes it can make the masking fluid really stick to your paper and it can be a little bit difficult to get off. So I'm using this eraser and I just want to pull off all the masking fluid. I'm going to grab a round 1 synthetic brush. It has a very fine tip and it's synthetic, so I have pretty good control of it. And I'm going to grab a paper towel and I'm just going to tell you the few easy steps to making watercolor raindrops. And so to start off, all we do is we're going to wet the upper half of the raindrop with just clean water. I'm going to grab a little bit of Paynes gray and I'm going to drop it in at that corner. And then I'm going to wash my brush, take off all the excess water on that paper towel, and I'm just going to smooth that edge so that there isn't as hard of a line. Going over it again, we are going to get some clean water and we are going to wet half of the raindrop. I'm going to drop in some Paynes gray where the upper portion is wet. And then I'm going to wash my brush off, dab the water off, and I'm just going to blur that line. Dark center doesn't have to always be at the top. It can be like on the left side or the right side or the bottom side. Like I'm going to do it on the bottom for this one. Grab some Paynes gray, drop it in, wash my brush, dab the excess water, and just blur the line a little bit. And if you accidentally get a little bit too much paint on your raindrop like I did right there, you can just grab a piece of paper towel and just dab it. And you can either take some of the color off or you could redo the whole thing. And so for this water drip on this side, I'm going to wet the right side And I'm going to drop in the Paynes gray, and then I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm just going to smooth that left side. So really all we're doing right now is just shading in half of our watercolor raindrop. And the second part to all of this is just creating a little bit of a shadow so that it looks like the raindrop has some like dimension to it. And so when I was sort of trying to figure out and learn how to paint these watercolor raindrops, I didn't see a whole lot of tutorials, and the ones that I saw kind of looked confusing and a little bit difficult. But after painting pages and pages of raindrops, it's quite simple, I feel, because you're really just shading it, shading half of the little raindrop and then drawing in a shadow line. And so it kind of feels meticulous, but to think about it, like there's no one way to paint a raindrop. They can all look different. You can shade them on different sides. You can use different colors. Like I'm just using Paynes gray just to keep things simple, but it doesn't have to be hard. You really just get that, if you can get the shading in, that's really all there is to it. And I don't know, like they are pretty loose, I feel, because, you know, raindrops, they don't have to look super realistic. But anyway, so I feel like it's just those few steps. And then once you get those steps down, it's not hard at all. Anyone can do this. And then I'm going to grab my finest brush, and it's this Da Vinci Colonio liner, script liner. And I'm going to grab a bit darker shade of Paynes gray, and all I'm doing here is just outlining the shadow of the raindrop. And so for this one right here, I'm just going to very lightly draw a line around the raindrop like that. And generally I draw it the opposite side of the dark shadow, but I mean, you could outline it really anywhere. It doesn't have to be, there's no like strict rules, like it has to be this way or that side. But just giving those raindrops some shadow is what we're doing right here. And there we have our watercolor raindrops. It's super simple. It doesn't need to be that hard. You just have to shade the little raindrop and give it a shadow. And there we have our loose watercolor raindrops.